Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Welcome along. Monday night, 8 p.m. the Live Lounge. Sorry for the slight delay. We were chatting away, getting ready to start, and my internet for a wobbler, and it's still off, so I'm hotspotting off my phone. But it's all good. Dan, how are we doing?
Very well, mate. Very well. It's good to be back after a quick 1 week away. No, absolutely. Really good. It's been a busy, strange old week and a half or so. But lots going on in darts. Really good weekend for darts. A bit of all sorts going on all over the place. Hopefully get a chance to get through that. Some of the more obscure stuff, I've just noticed Anthony is in the chat room. I saw, right now here's the thing, and this is right off piece. None of the we're getting to the important matters here. Darts at a Comic Con, and they had the great John Barrowman, Captain Jack Harkness to a Doctor Who fan, throwing darts with some CDC players. Like what? Darts and Comic Con? But what that needs to happen more.
Yeah, big fan, absolutely. Anthony, you're good, my friend. Look, only two of us this evening. Never let the truth get in the way of a good story. We'll come on to him in a minute. But first of all, how is Mrs. Simpson?
On the mend, thank you. Yeah, we had a bit of a crisis, a bit of an urgent crisis. Yeah, last week, as she was rushed into hospital and required emergency surgery, and it was a bit chaotic in the Simpson household. But she's home, and she's in quite a bit of pain and not as mobile as she would like. But on the mend, so improving and will continue to get better. You know, they've solved the problem, and she's on the up. So yeah, it's a bit of a strange week or two, but she's on the mend, definitely. Thank you very much.
Good stuff. As you can see, the normal one, as he described himself, isn't here. He couldn't be asked to turn up tonight. Said, "Fuck it, I'm not coming." Never let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Yeah, I think he must be. Somebody must have upset him somewhere. I don't know where. He's been in all sorts of comment sections, I think, over the weekend for different events, and something's happened somewhere, and he's thrown his toys out the pram, I think.
Yeah, 100%. It's all good. Let's jump into the chat room and say hi to everyone first of all. Matt, how are we doing? Owen, Tommy is in. David, good evening. Del, how do? Sam, Paul, Shalati is in. Tommy, Adam, Paul. A lot of people are loving my Cody Rhodes shirt. Absolutely. Who else is in? Of course, Anthony is in. Been chatting to you all day. James, how are we doing? Puzzled Dan. It was good to see Kellett. Bosch is in. Evening, Chris. Always got adrenaline, mate. Always. Ricky says, evening, fellas. Daz, how we doing? Cameron Loads in tonight. It's all good.
It's busy, isn't it? It's a busy night already.
Yeah, we've only just started. Wayne is in. Connor says, will there be no live lands the week of the US Darts Masters? Oh, Connor, how you are wrong. The week of the US Darts Masters, there's actually going to be 2 live lounges. Yes, you heard right. 2. The regular Monday night slot with the boys, I won't be on because I'm flying at that time. So I will leave the show in good hands on a Monday whilst I travel. And also Wednesday evening, don't know the precise times. Anthony is in the chat room, so he might be able to have. We are going to have an impromptu live lounge live from the Big Apple with our friends at the CDC.
Oh, wow. Well, I am incredibly jealous. I will be tuning in and watching live, but I am incredibly jealous. What? So,
the boys will be holding the fort on the Monday, and then we will have an impromptu live lounge live from New York City. I'm fucking buzzing.
How cool. Yeah, that's very, very cool.
Yeah.
It was, so what the time... What's that? 7, so 5 till 7 Eastern USA. So that's so it's still reasonable then.
It's not too bad, no.
Yeah. It's so we're looking 10 p.m. ish ballpark.
Yeah.
Oh, so even for even to watch live, that's not unreasonable. Obviously, it'll be on the watch back and it'll be on YouTube for everyone to catch up on. But even for a live one, that's not too much of a late night.
No, absolutely. That is absolutely buzzing. Bill, we are doing it from a bar. Anthony will have the name of it there. We are just getting everything back up and ready to go for it. But yeah, I'm buzzing. Matador is in. How are we all doing? So yeah, not only that, right? Where do we start? It's been an absolute mental week of darting action on and off the hockey and everything that goes with it. Where would you like to start?
Oh, Euro Tour? Do you think?
Or should,
or do you want to cover that later on? Should we do? Yeah, we could do Modus first, or we could do we get the Premier League out the way. Live league.
To be fair, we'll kind of start with the Super Series, because I'm not going to lie, I didn't see any of Thursday and Friday, and by our chat room, did Daniel Lee kind of cause all sorts of scenes by his maverick playing?
No, it was like elite level trolling of a dartboard. It was genuinely. I could not, and I still don't know. Like, I'm sure somebody will be able to interview him at some point and have a chat about it. But I can't work out if he was, like, I know it was his debut, like it's his first time there. I think that more people know his name now and who he is for having done that than they ever would if he'd have just turned up and sort of played all right, averaged 82 or something, and sort of plodded through it. But in terms of entertainment, remarkable. I think the commentators were completely bamboozled. I think Matt Mega didn't know what was going on. And for a man who knows the game in as much detail as he does, it was quite staggeringly wacky.
Interesting. I like that. Look, I saw Friday night because I was back from the Premier League, but I didn't see anything Thursday or Friday morning because obviously traveling back in that from Liverpool, which is thing. But yeah.
So one of the wacky. So he was on 202, and obviously he went the standard route from 202, which is to throw double 16 to leave 170.
Big fan.
And I can't say I'm not into it. Like, it was bloody entertaining. And then I can't think. What did he do? Did he take out? Someone will correct me in the chat room because I'm going from memory. But did he take out 70? And he went double 15. I'm sure he started 70 on double 15, which again is some would argue isn't the best way to go to give yourself the most chances. Very strange setup shots.
Yeah, fair enough.
Played the doubles a lot, like lots of doubles to try and set things up. And obviously, as soon as one of them doesn't go in, it's all potatoes, isn't it? It's all over the place. It was odd, but if his intention was to get people talking about him and increase his name and social following and relevance, then you can't make the point that he wasn't very successful in doing so. Like, if that was his aim, then he's done a very good job of it.
I'm a big fan. How are we doing, Neil? Hope you are good, buddy. Yeah, look, right. There's two huge talking points in the Super Series last week for me. First of all, we'll do the easier one. The England captain, Scott Mitchell, playing himself into some fabulous form, smashing Group A and getting through to the semi-final. So good to see Scotty Dog. But look, we have to talk about Beau. Beau was incredible, unbeaten, 8 out of 8 from Group B, and then smashing our way to victory on the Saturday night. And apart from one game, I think it was Sebastian took her to a deciding leg, never looked in any danger.
No, it was complete dominance. Like you say, it was genuinely superb. The 114 average. Absolutely, like that, just as something to see in a match, genuinely incredible, like really impressive stuff. First player to win of any gender, like first player to win without losing a single match. Just complete and utter dominance. Nobody could do anything with her. It was a really impressive display. I think, people have been excited about her being there, and excited. But then I don't know if the rest of the players are. For us, it's absolutely amazing. But I think there'll be a few people now who see her name on that list and think, shit. I really don't fancy that at all.
You should say that. Mr. Duff says exactly that.
Yeah, well, that is of no surprise whatsoever. But no, and I do think, it was, it's history making in a number of different ways. She managed to tick off a number of different records in a very short period of time. Many of which were not because she was female. Like there were plenty of general records that she managed to dispatch while she was on with it. Absolutely superb stuff. And exciting for us, exciting for those of us that like to watch darts and talk about it. Very exciting to see her in that form and finding that form, certainly being able to put it together match after match after match and going back to back. Because obviously later in the year, we're going to see her playing in at least 2 PDC majors, maybe 3. So exciting to see her be able to put those string of performances together on a camera. Really good.
Yeah. Nicholas is in from Vienna. Nice to have you in. Yeah, look, I hope you agree. And Matador says that. It says, it'll be interesting to see how she gets on Champions Week. Wonder if she wins, it will change her opinion on events and striving to play. It's an interesting one because obviously we did a lot of media at the Super Series with Beau and listening to her and things like that. I'm not sure how much we're going to see her in mixed events all the time. I think the Super Series, a bit of Dev Tour and things like that, I think 100%. But listening to her aspirations going forward a long time, I thought she was really honest when the scorecard situation came up. And I don't think we'll see her in a lot of mixed events, perhaps not as many as fans would like to see her in.
Yeah, but I don't dislike the fact that she seems to be making decisions based on what's best for herself. She doesn't seem to be being sort of drawn in or persuaded or led towards things that she doesn't think are the best thing for her, regardless of what the rest of the world thinks. And there are millions of darts fans and then a small number of pundits and other people, influential people that have a view on what she should be doing, and she should be doing this and she should be playing that. And most of that's based on either A, if they can make some money out of her, or B, does it bring more, does it generate more income for them to make some more money? It's generally driven by their own, ability to make some money off her. Or just the sheer, my view, I'd love to see her playing all sorts of events, selfishly, because I quite enjoy watching her play, and I think it's good to watch. But I think the real positive is that she seems to be very assured in what she's doing, and that's the right thing for her. And then I think if that's where her decision making is coming from, it's very difficult to criticise. But good luck to her. And of course it is. We forget that she's still very, very young, and all being well, as a long time, she has a long darts career ahead of her. If that's what she wants, that darts career with longevity is going to be there for her. So if she chooses that for the next period of however much time, this is what she wants to do, or she wants to do X, Y, or Z, it's sort of hers to do with what she wants that talent. If she wants to decide that she wants to go and live somewhere else in the world and play on the Chinese Premier League for a year, then it's up to her, isn't it? What she wants to do. But it would be nice as a pure darts fan to be able to see her, finding the performances that we saw over the weekend at the Super Series. If we could see that on, or at PDC major events, where she gets those sort of levels thrown back at her, then it can only be entertaining, can't it? It can only be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And another take, obviously, listening to the interview, then, because I was directing it, so I was picking the angles and stuff like that, that I don't think we'll see her at Ali Pali again this year. I think that the Lakeside will be the route of choice again.
Again, I think I sort of referred to my previous comments on that. I did, let's be honest, there's a decent chance that at her age she could play at the World Championships 20 years in a row, if that's the desire that she had. If she decides that this year isn't the year to start that, and next year isn't, or if she wants to do it for 3 years and then do something else for 5 years, or it's within her gift to do so, isn't it? It's so. And yes, and I know I don't. It's not that people shouldn't be, wanting her to go and do things, but it is. It's out of either pure entertainment. They want to be entertained, or they want to make a few quid out of it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But look, absolutely stunning 3 days for Beau, and coming back at Champions Week. I'm presuming with that performance that she will be in Group A, so it will be. I'm really interested to see how she can build on that across a week. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd like to see the thing how that translates into a Group A, because there is a different dynamic. Look, I think the performances will be the same, but it's just that longevity of doing it again and again. Obviously, Neil's in the chat room; he knows what it's like. Those Group A's can be brutal. So I'm interested to see that development.
Yeah, but I think that's to a degree. These are the things that I think she's probably gaining experience from, and that holding back from that, going for the tour card and going to push, wherever direction she's getting pulled. Having these experiences of going into a tricky Group A formatting and schedule where she has to sort of almost peak at different times throughout that tournament is another learning step for her, and I do think it will make her, or I would like to think it will make her a better player in the coming years for that. Yeah,
no, agreed. But just genuinely a fabulous week of darts at the Super Series. Good, enjoyed it, and some damn good darts. Say Beau sensational, and Scotty Mitchell back to his best as well. It was good. I'll start that question. We'll come back to that in a second. Don't worry about that at all. So yeah, from there, should we go have a look at the Premier League this week, because I feel that there was another pendulum twist in the race for the O2 this week, and there was one big loser this week, and that was Michael Smith.
Yeah, it was another strange, and I've been doing quite a lot of fallouts, and what it was a far better night than we've seen in recent weeks. The couple of weeks before, if we're honest, had been a little bit underwhelming in terms of levels that any of the players.
Rotterdam was shite. Let's not sugarcoat it. Rotterdam was awful.
Yeah, well, yes, correct. It was garbage. And then we did see. We did see this week, we saw some better darts, and not only just better darts, but we saw some more entertaining games. Games that were more enjoyable to watch. Littler was obviously superb, and certainly managing to steadily increase into that level as he went through to take the victory in the end. But yeah, it's become a real slog in that midfield, because a few weeks ago we were talking about really there being 3 names guaranteed, 3 names that we thought were certainties, and it was Littler, Humphreys and Van Gerwen, and all of a sudden Nathan Aspinall's jumped over Van Gerwen into that 3rd spot in the league, and if you're going to have Van Gerwen as a sort of safe one, then what do you say about Nathan? Now, Michael Smith, he's 4 points behind Michael Van Gerwen at this stage, which is like, and don't forget, we've only got, well, we've got three nights left. So we've got
That's
3 nights left.
It was a real sucker punch for Michael Smith this week.
Oh, we've got 4 nights because we've got Sheffield as well, haven't we? We just don't have the fixtures yet for them. So we've got three.
Aberdeen, Leeds, and Sheffield.
So we've got 3 nights left. Now, Michael Smith either needs to win a night. If he's going to have any chance, he's got to win a night, because those 4 points, whilst they don't sound a lot, that's him winning quarterfinals in 2 of the 3. And Michael Van Gerwen being beaten in the first round in 2 of the 3, just to level it up. Like, so if you're Michael Smith, you're trying to strategize your route to that 4th spot. You're gonna be thinking, well, Michael Van Gerwen isn't going to lose all 3 first round games. Like, really, he might, but he's not going to, is he? So. And even if he does, Michael Smith has to win 2 just to level it up. So he's going to win all 3. So he's going to have to make like a final and a quarter to get there. It'd be really interesting to see if he can do something. If he can do something this week in Aberdeen. Now, being honest, and I don't want to kick a man while he's down, if you are Michael Smith and you know that you have to get points on the board to stay in it, opening up against Peter Wright isn't the worst draw you could have had. Like, playing Peter Wright on first is the best draw Michael Smith could have got, if we're honest. And a Rob Cross that was in the final last week and has been, whilst he isn't in the mix, he's been playing some good darts in the Premier League. It's not a walkover for Michael Van Gerwen. So it would be interesting if Wright can if Smith can put a bit of a run together. A Smith Aspinall semi-final could be interesting.
Well, I look at the way
given their current exploits.
We'll come on to that in a second, but I look at the way the fixtures run over the next 3 weeks. So Michael Smith plays Peter Wright. Look, we'd expect him to come through that under normal circumstances. But then he's got the winner of Littler and Aspinall. So if say Aspinall wins, they play each other in the semi-final. If Aspinall were to win, that increases the gap again. So he's losing out. Look, Van Gerwen has got crossed. Look, what version of Van Gerwen turns up at the moment? No one knows. It's the thing.
He's very unpredictable, and this is what we saw. We saw it more. And we'll come to Euro 2 in a bit, but we saw it more at the weekend. We've seen it at the Premier League. You know, he either wins a night or goes out in the first round, doesn't he? In the Premier League, that's pretty much what he's doing. He's either going out in the first round or winning it.
Yeah, and in Leeds, again, nightmare quarter-final, Smith and Aspinall, last quarter-final in Leeds. So again, one of them is leaving empty-handed from the first direct arena, which is an absolute mare. And then goes to Sheffield, depending on the results from the other 2, the likelihood is the quarter-final is going to be a version of Smith, Aspinall, Van Gerwen playing each other.
Yeah, it's going to get a bit naughty, isn't it?
Look, I just think if MVG picks up 2 points from either Aberdeen or Leeds, that Smith's in a world of trouble.
One of the problem as well, it's just in terms of being caught in the mix, is at the Aspinall, I know he's third, but only having 1 point on Van Gerwen. And it's the way the points are attributed and the way the points are dished out. But only having 1 point ahead means he's really just 1 quarter-final win, and it swings. If he drops the ball in 1 quarter-final, Van Gerwen just steps past him straight into third spot. And then it's between Smith and Aspinall for that I mean, let's be honest. Luke Humphries isn't safe yet.
Yeah, he is. But right, the nightmare for Smith is coming up over the next 2 weeks. He needs Aspinall to stay ahead of Van Gerwen, I think. Because
I think that's exactly what Smith needs. I think that Smith needs it to be a 2-horse race.
Or no, right, because then going into Sheffield, it'll be 4 plays 5. So if I'm Michael Smith, I want to play Van Gerwen with my fate in my own hands. 1, because he's not playing the best right now, and 2, knowing that it's a 4-pointer.
Yeah, 100%. That's it. Exactly. That's what that. Sure, but I think that's what anybody, you want your fate in your own hands. You want it to come down to the fact that if you win your match, you go against the bloke that you're competing against. You go through. And let's be honest, that's what fans want as well. Like, that's what we want and that's the reason why they do the fixtures the way that they do on, for that night 14 is that's what we want, isn't it? In an ideal world, we want a shootout between places 4 and 5, and we want them within a couple of points of each other so that the games mean something.
Yeah, 100%. It's really interesting, this dynamic of the Premier League, and it's been well documented all over Instagram and in the chat room here that Aspinall and Smith are having a break in Vegas right now. 2 parts to this. 1, the break in Vegas, absolutely incredible. The pictures look great. However, is this ideal preparation for a huge night in Aberdeen for them?
If I was to call out people for preparing for important life events by getting on the piss and drinking too much, everybody that knows me will immediately call me out as a complete and utter hypocrite. So the only problem I have with it, like the genuinely only problem, I have absolutely no problem with what people want to do on their days off. Like, I just think, like it's there's what you are. I have no problem with the big hitters not going to Euro tours. It creates opportunities for people further down the chain. I have no issue with it whatsoever. The only thing that I would, and you can't really have a view on it if it doesn't happen. But I would think that they were foolish if they have travel issues that cause problems and a knock-on effect for their appearance at the Premier League. Only because I think, like, I'm a firm believer in that. Like, if you have made a commitment to do something or be somewhere and do then you should do that, and it shouldn't fall victim to you going out and enjoying yourself. So, like, if they're back and they're comfortable, I assume, and I'm making a wild assumption, but I assume that they are travelling in a way that means that international travel won't give them too much of a problem in terms of jet lag. I would like to think that they are in a suitably luxurious environment in which they can get a decent sleep and
business class, you mean?
Yeah. or better. But so I have no real problem with it. But I would be the first one, like, lining up shots next week. Well, if their flight gets delayed or cancelled, and then they miss their connecting flight, and they don't end up either getting to where they need to be in time or coming back, not as prepared as they should be. It's very difficult to, say whether other people will be too tired or, like, because it's their body, isn't it? And everyone works a bit differently. Like, there's people I know that have worked night shifts all their life. There's people I know that can't keep their eyes open after 10 p.m. at night, and everyone's a bit different in how you can adapt. You make the assumption that these are professionals at the very top of their game, and they should be able to manage themselves well enough where it won't have a negative effect on them. Could even have a positive effect on them.
Well, this is the thing. If they both turn up and win their first round games, play each other, only one can then get to the final. But questions will be asked that if they both go to Aberdeen, and lose in that quarter-final?
Yes,
Then questions will be asked.
They will be, but you can't really make too much of it. I don't think.
No, it doesn't work.
If it happens to Nathan, that'll be his 6th quarter-final loss this year, and he hasn't been to Las Vegas before any of the others. Probably 7th, I would have thought, for Michael Smith off the top, roughly. And again, he hasn't been to Vegas before any of the other losses, so you'll never be able to. It'll only ever be speculation as to like what's caused what, and is it this and is it that. But I don't think. Well, as I say, we'll see. I don't think it can be criticised too harshly.
Yeah, look, it'll be interesting. Daniel, if I'm being honest, I don't play with the integrated flight system, so probably not the best person to ask on that. But going back to night 13 in Liverpool, we knew that Luke was going to get a little bit of stick, but he ended up turning it around and playing the Scouse fans like an absolute choir.
Well, I just assumed that he would only getting stuck in about the football. I assumed he'd have half of the stadium on his side. Like it's a two-team city there, isn't it? I thought, well, he's the Everton fans will be right behind him, but no, I think he did manage to get out against him, but he didn't seem phased in the same. You know, we've talked all year about how comfortable he looks and how mature that he appears, and you know he seems to be able to find that balance of being able to interact with the crowd without that really becoming the focus of what's going on, and without that taking his focus away from what he's doing. It does show a really high level of maturity and self-control, and you know, we've seen all of that from him in the last few days. But that, I thought the way he went about his business was very impressive. Certainly that, you know, Rob Cross averaged 100 in the final and got absolutely blown away. Littler was just immense in the final. Really impressive.
Yeah, 100%. Some interesting, again, games in there. Michael Van Gogh has beaten Peter Wright, but I'm not quite sure. Peter Wright, I think, was 3-1 up, and Van Gogh was absolutely pony. And he found a way to arguably the biggest 2 points of his Premier League today. Forget the wins. If he loses there, he is in a world of trouble. Yeah, and he had no right to win that game, to be completely honest, Phil. Like it was very strange because he didn't even look competitive for a large chunk of that match. And then he just, I think it was from 3-1, where he just managed to start picking up legs. And I have no idea how he won it, because he was crap. It was really crap. Consistently crap through the day. Oh yeah, 100%. Daniel, yes, we will be doing our normal stuff. How are you doing, Phil? Hope you are good. And then, look, Michael Smith, it was a surprise loss to Rob Cross. The form that Mike Smithy was in, I didn't expect him to lose. Look, Rob played brilliantly, but that will hurt Michael Smith, especially because he went on last. Aspinall and MVG had both won their games. So it was a big defeat psychologically as well, I think. Yeah, it was a brilliant match, a thoroughly enjoyable game to watch. Probably the best one of the night, just in terms of it being competitive and entertaining. And it's not very often, you know, in truth, that you can average 103 and get beat. Like Michael Smith was massively in that game, but Rob Cross was absolutely clinical. 6 from 9 on your doubles, and if you can go 6 from 9 while you're averaging 102, there's not a lot your opponent can do about that other than chuck nines at you, because it was just clinical from
Rob Cross, and it's performances like that from Cross really that gives you, it's a bit of a head scratcher that he's realistically out of the running now. And we talked, over a few weeks on the fallout as to, is he yet out of the running? Is he now out of the running? And I'm now sort of at a point at last where I'm sort of willing to say, yeah, his race is ran, and it's it's two going into three. I think spots now open in my opinion.
Yeah,
I know it's not mathematically yet. Gezi Price isn't mathematically done yet, but
yeah, but he'd have to win 3 on the spin and then still hope a few
rely on results.
Yeah. Right, we're going to play a couple of clips from Liverpool first of all before we look to Aberdeen. We'll do Luke first. Off the crowd.
I was just expecting the worst, and if it was anything better, then it was good. But the crowd, it was a bit bad, but I didn't help myself much. But I kept myself composed and won all my games. I was enjoying it. Because they were booing me, and then I was just telling them what happened the night before.
I love that line. I was just telling them what happened the night before. One of my favourite lines.
In case they didn't know, I just
tells them again.
They might not see. They might have some of these people. They might not know. So I just thought I'd just tell them. Like, good on you, mate. Good on you.
And then we got to speak to Rob as well. And this was a real insight from Rob. I enjoyed this one.
Starting from there, I've had a few issues and other stuff, but look, I can't grumble. It's been great. I've loved being here. Yeah, it hasn't worked out, but look, that's where it is. It's okay. It's not like I'm a broken man like I was 3 years ago, So I'll come in. I try my best every week, but yeah, it just not really worked out for me. You just chase 10 grand every week, don't you? It's the logical way. And look, if you're not here to make finals or whatever, then you have to chase the money. Unfortunately, I never play a game of darts for money. Truthfully, it seems like when you win, the money comes with it. But yeah, for the next 3 weeks, I suppose, yeah, I can chase that, and I chase 10 grand every week. And look, it's still something to get out of bed for, I suppose,
I like that. Nice to hear Rob talking like that.
Yeah, well, it's realistic, isn't it? He knows exactly where he is. Like, I was just having a quick look there. It's like tournament average 97.5. Like, that is above Nathan Aspinall, Michael Smith. It's 0.04 away from Michael van Gerwen. So he's like, in terms of his performance level, he's right there with sort of really all but the two Lukes, really, in terms of the level he's produced. He just hasn't managed to get games won. A little bit like, it reminds me of the Chris Dobie run last year, when we saw brilliant performances for him and a level that was very much on par with, there was parity. He looked like he belonged in the Premier League 100%, but couldn't just quite get those wins. He couldn't pick up the right legs. He was winning legs, but they weren't always the right ones, or the ones that were the really important legs. And that's what I think we're seeing from Rob Cross this year.
Yeah, no, look, I agree. And obviously Luke Littler goes on to win another Premier League night, and look, just incredible stuff from Luke.
And he could now have the rest of the 3 nights off. He could not turn up for 3 weeks now. Yeah. And he is there. He is a mathematical certainty, no matter what happens or any strange, freakish occurrences.
Yeah. So moving to the PNJ Live in Aberdeen this week for night 14. The quarterfinals are as follows: Peter Wright, Michael Smith, Luke Littler, Nathan Aspinall, Michael van Gerwen, Rob Cross, and Geraint Price against Luke Humphreys. An intriguing night up in the Highlands of Scotland. It's an interesting one, this venue. Look, the new venue we've been there for a couple of years now. It's shiny, it's new, but I don't like it. I preferred the old venue the oil and gas one, whatever it was called. The atmosphere was so good. Look, I completely understand that financially and everything, this makes sense. I'm not naive enough to think that. I think the old one held, was it 4,500, 5,000, where this one is over 10.
Yeah, it's a proper indoor arena, isn't it?
The arena itself venue. Is immaculate, but there was something about the old atmosphere at the gas and oil arena that was incredible. But look, I wouldn't quite go that far, but it'll be interesting. Right, let's go through the quarterfinals before we touch on a few other Premier League subjects. Right, against Smith, what's your thinking on this one?
Well, I've just because I did the fallout on Thursday night. But I've already got my predictions done, and often there's a bit of an opportunity for me to rethink them and rehash them if people aren't paying attention. But Cam, being helpful as he is, screenshot them and sent them straight into our WhatsApp chat, so they're already like. So I'm going to have to stick with them now, and I'm committed to them.
Would you change them having seen a Euro tour then?
Yeah. Yeah, but I'll give you what I've got. I'll stick with it. Right? They were predictions made in good faith, so I'm going to stick with them. And again, and now, what I think. Oh, I'll tell you where this happened on Thursday. I had me predicting wine was open, and because I'd had the predicting wine open, that's why I've gone with Peter Wright beating Michael Smith 6-4. And I can only blame the predicting wine for that.
So I'm guessing you're hoping on Thursday Peter Wright rocks up with the gold elements and a normal flight and stem combo and plays normally.
No, I'm hoping Peter Wright turns up to find that Michael Smith's flight's been delayed and he's in Reykjavik. That's why I'm hoping Peter Wright walk over.
6-0 Wright wins.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look, I'm going for an upset in this one. I'm going for a Peter Wright win. I look at the deck and what's gone on. I'm going for a Wright win.
Well, the reason I went for it, and what I said on Thursday was, people have now spent, so once we got 4 or 5 weeks into this and we knew that Peter Wright wasn't going to be competing at the top of the table, people have spent, not just me, we've been in the chat room constantly, referring to Peter Wright as a spoiler. Peter Wright will be the spoiler now. Well, he can't be the spoiler unless at some point he spoils something for someone. Because he hasn't yet. So he hasn't. We've spent 10 weeks talking about him being the spoiler, and he hasn't spoiled a thing yet. Now, this would be the perfect spoil. When we talked earlier on about how important it is for Michael Smith to win this match, and how it's a brilliant draw for him this week when he really needs the points, but it would be the perfect spoil. And if we're going to call Peter Wright the spoiler, he's going to have to spoil something.
Yeah, I'm going for the spoil this week. I'm going 6-4 to Snakey. Then, this is an intriguing one. A repeat of last week's semi-final, and Nathan Aspinall did blow it. He blew this game. And will there be some scar tissue as he faces Littler again?
It's repeat or revenge, isn't it? And I can't see, and I'm glad that the predicting wine was on with agrees with me now. I can't see anything other than a comfortable Luke Littler win, and I feel better for that having watched the weekend. I had it down, and I'll stick with me pick on a 6-3 Littler victory.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 6-4. I just think that Luke will be in a better headspace and everything like that. And right, this next one, this is a real intriguing one because MVG needs to win this, but Rob Cross is actually playing half decent.
Yeah, I don't really have to think too much because I've got them written down in front of me. We talked about how important it is for Smith and MVG to best each other this week, and I've got Smith predicted to get beat, but I have also gone with a Rob Cross 6-4 victory. I don't think MVG gets this one. I think it gets tenser before it gets more comfortable.
I'm just going to have a look to see how this is priced, because I'm interested in this, how they would price this one. Anthony, hope you are good, my friend. Good to have you in the chat room. Your boy did well again, didn't he? See, right. I don't want you to look. How would you expect this game to be priced on current form?
What, Cross MVG?
Yep.
I would have Cross as a 4-5 favourite.
So if I said Cross was 6-4, you'd fancy a flutter?
Shit, yeah.
Then MVG's the 8-15 favourite, Cross 6-4.
What?
Straight up, looking at it now.
Contact my bookie.
On current form, that is priced wrong.
Yeah, of course it is. It's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Yeah, I would have Cross. Yeah, I know he's below him in the league, but I don't know. Maybe we. They battered him last week. He absolutely battered him a week ago,
And
in the same tournament.
Look, and MVG was disappointed on the Euro Tour as well.
What's the just out of interest? What's the head-to-head?
I would imagine the head-to-head's in MVG's favour, but I just think that
It will be. So it will be long term. Like without a doubt, it will be long term. I just wonder, just this recent. So they've met 3 times in the Premier League this year. I'm just looking at this year's, and Cross has won 2. Michael van Gerwen's won 1. The 2 that Cross has won. When Cross wins, he blows him away. He's beat him twice 6-2.
yeah, I think Cross is too big a price in that one. I'd certainly be taking Cross on the handicap. But
Yeah. Value to be had there.
I think we may get a reaction from MVG after a poor week. I'm going to go 6-5 to MVG, but I'd like in terms of betting, I'd definitely be taking Cross on the handicap.
Yes.
And the last one, this is interesting. Getter in Price against Luke Humphreys. Both rested, shall we say, but
yeah, I'm gonna. So I've gone 6-2 Luke Humphreys, and it's primarily because for the last 4 or 5 weeks, the level of performance that Humphreys has produced has been like after his 3 wins on the bounce, he's had 3 quarterfinals and 2 semi-finals. So he's won 2 matches out of 5, which is not like him at all. And he's so good, and he's so his darts, his A game is at such a high level that this mediocrity, and I don't mean mediocrity in the grand scheme of things, I mean mediocrity for the current version of Luke Humphreys. Like the current version of Luke Humphreys doesn't turn up every week at the Premier League and average like 96, and he doesn't do that every week. Sooner or later, he's going to dick somebody, and he's going to turn up and average 107. He just hasn't done it for 5 weeks or so. And it's due. And so for that reason alone, I just keep picking him as a heavy winner early, because I just know he's got that performance overdue at the moment.
yeah, no, I just worry about Gazzy's state of mind at the moment in the Premier League. I just think he's checked out. So I think Humphreys wins this. and I'm going to go 6-3 to Humphreys, which we'll talk on the Gezi mindset in a minute. But who did you have winning, and who did they beat in the final?
I had. What a wally. This is because I just love a story. It's just, I like to think that we've got more action coming to us than we probably in reality have. And I have Rob Cross winning.
Interesting.
And attempting to claw his way back up towards that spot.
I have got Luke Humphreys getting back on the horse and beating the Nuke in the final in a close one.
Yeah, Cross Littler I had. Cross beating Littler in the final.
Yeah. But on the Premier League, next year, we don't know if they're going to keep the same format. I hope they don't. But there's some interesting choices to be made if they do.
You bet.
And unless he goes and wins the Matchplay or the World Championships, I don't see how they can re-pick Peter Wright after 2 horrific years in the Premier League.
Well, he's going to be outside the top 10 at least.
I don't think he drops as far as you think. He drops it at the moment. He's currently provisionally world 10.
Yeah, I was going to say 2-card race at the minute is 10. But for me, what that relies on then is if you look at 11 through, well, you don't have to go all the way to the bottom, but if you look at even 11 through 15, that relies on him having a better year from this point until the end of the year than Bunting, Gando, Dobie, Noppert, and Dimitri van den Berg. Now, for me, I would back those players to pick up more money between now and February than Peter Wright.
Yeah. And
if they all do, that puts him 16th in the world. And then you've got Cullen, Searle, Smith. And you think, well, they might all... And it's not huge amounts of money as well. It's not... sometimes because no one in that mix is carrying the weight of a world title or a world final on their ranking, then there's loads of movement. It only takes one. If 2 of those players makes a couple of semis, Peter Wright's nowhere near the top 10.
It's intriguing, and the interesting one is Michael Smith, because I know he still has the chance to defend this money, but he is defending a king's ransom, and provisionally he's world 19. Now, how do you justify picking say he defends some of it and I don't know, gets to 12. I'll just pluck that out the hat. Can you justify picking him then?
I think it's going to be tough because who do you not pick? Because the conversation's going to be names like Bunting. Bunting was on stage last week. Stephen Bunting is going to be in the conversation, as are a number of other players that are in the top 10. It's going to be really difficult to say that Michael Smith, whilst he is a former world champion, is at this moment in time more marketable and playing darts at a better level than somebody like a Stephen Bunting or and I can't even believe I'm saying this out loud, Dimitri van den Berg. Or
Van den Berg's the one for me that, look, as a person, he's a great lad. Do I enjoy watching Van den Berg play? Absolutely not.
That's the challenge for the Premier League.
Right, the fact he won the UK Open, he's in Copenhagen World Series event, knowing the players that aren't going to Australia, I think he ends up going on there. He's almost, I don't want to say the golden boy because that's wrong, but he ticks the boxes that they like.
Well, let's be honest. So for me, if the majors this year are the big uns, if they are won by players like we are used to seeing in the Premier League, and we don't get someone like Joe Cullen winning a major or Dobie winning a major, then Dimitri goes into the Peter Wright spot, is I think what they'll do, which is why, and that's why I was using the example, because I think Dimitri goes into the Peter Wright slot, which is why I then think you're looking at, well, where does Bunting go? Well, he doesn't replace Humphreys, Cross, Van Gerwen, Price. He's unlikely to replace Aspinall. Littler's an absolute banker. Heta has put himself in the conversation.
Yeah.
I don't think the case for Heta is as strong as Dimitri Van den Berg or a Dobie or a Bunting. So I think whilst Heta has put himself in the conversation, he's probably fourth or fifth in that conversation as things stand. But if he goes and wins a major this year, then he's put himself right into that conversation. And I struggle to see where Michael Smith fits in. The problem he's got, if I'm brutal, there's too many marketable darts players. Michael Smith is a very marketable darts player. But there are lots of others as well. There are lots of other dart players in that conversation that will give you good content for your sponsors and broadcasters, interviews. They've got good stories. They will sell you a lot of T-shirts. They will entertain the crowd. They have good social media followings. There's that alone, whilst it's almost like a thing you need to be doing to get in the Premier League, you need that following. You need to be able to sell the tickets and make people want to go to an arena and see you play. There's plenty of players who've got that, where you need to be more than that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And Chris, I agree that I hope the format goes back to 10 next year, because I think there is a much wider selection, and it would be there's a better range of player you could pick. 10 would be so much better. Also, I can't remember who it was. My apologies. Bob says, when it's MVG, look, considering MVG is defending the King's Ransom, he's still provisionally world number 3.
Because he just picks up so much money, like under the radar these days. I think he doesn't. He goes under the radar a lot, and he just seems to consistently keep adding all the time to his total.
Oh, Johnny.
I mean, he is defending a lot. He's defending 694 grand.
Yeah.
This year, but I mean, 250 of it's the World Championships, isn't it?
Yeah.
So he's going to need he won't be able to hold that. In fact, yeah, he probably still would hold the top 4, but he certainly won't be able to hold that position in the top 2 without making a world final. He's benefiting, to be honest, from the fact that one of the World Championship finalists this year was unranked, which everybody's benefiting from. Because if Luke Littler had 2 years at it, everyone would be one spot down from where they are. Because he's only got 4 months' money at the moment. And the very fact that 4 months' money is £303,000 and put him into 25th in the world is bordering on hilarious.
Yeah. I agree. It's interesting, this race now, because the rankings, apart from Luke Humphreys, could take the next 18 months off and still be world number one. But under that, it's interesting that every round that these players go now could be a world ranking up or down place, which is the way it should be. For too long, the rankings have been lopsided. So I actually quite like that it's all bunched for a change.
Oh, 100, especially when you look at, like, at the moment, just on a straight up rankings at the minute, between sort of 16th and 6th, there's less than 100 grand, which is better than we've seen for years, just in terms of tightness as to, you know, every single time we see a competition, we see people going up and down in the rankings and big changes. And that also changes seedings for big majors when we come, which makes things even more interesting. So yeah, long may it continue being as competitive as it can be, and certainly in that top 16.
Yeah. Right, we're going to go to the European Tour this weekend when the Nuke does it again. Luke Littler wins his second European Tour title. We're running out of things to say about the boy.
Yeah, this is it. I was right. I did the write up last night just to sort of put the news out on the website for the reporters to what's happened. And you do find yourself stuck in a bit of a repetitive loop because, like, how many times can you say, like, he's played amazing, he's done this, he's done that, he's averaged 105, he's done, like, you just think, man, it's genuinely impressive. I do think, and everyone can say, you know, they come down whenever, he has stopped people viewing him, I think, as a 17-year-old. I genuinely think it's wearing off. Like, I think
he's just a world-class darts player winning darts.
Yeah, I think there was a period of time where we all went through where that was the topic of conversation. The topic of conversation was his age, and that's all we wanted to know. Everyone was talking about, he's this old, he's this many years old, and he's this many years old. No, I think he might look a bit older than he actually does. And is he 17 now? Now, you know, he's still 16, he's 17 next week. And that's the conversation constantly. We're now in a position where we don't really talk. Nobody talks about his age now. They talk about his averages. They talk about his doubling stats. They talk about his performances. They talk about his matches, his head-to-head record, his travel schedule. They talk about everything other than his age, which I think is good because that was just he can't do anything about the age that he is. Like, he can't change his age. It's completely out of his control. He can't. I mean, I don't know the rules these days. He might be able to identify as a 35-year-old bloke. I don't know what the rules are on. I don't know what the rules are on what you can and can't change. But he, you know, he can't control it. He is the age that he is. He's 17, and he is currently. You could make the case for him being the best darts player in the world at the moment this year.
100%.
But I'm quite enjoying the fact that that's now what the conversation is, not just a constant conversation about how old he is.
Yeah, absolutely.
But no, it genuinely is sublime, and there are there's only really a comparison that you can make towards Michael van Gerwen in his younger days. You can't make it of other darting greats because the game didn't look like this when they played. You know, when Phil Taylor was a very young man in his teens into his 20s, darts didn't look anything like it does now. It's the same sport, but it's so different. And the only real comparison you've got is MVG. And you can look at what he's then gone on to do and the dominance that he showed. The interesting thing will be that Michael van Gerwen, for a long time, it was a bit of an outlier in that nobody followed him, nobody went with him. And he kept elevating and raising the bar as to what he could do and could be done on a dartboard. And no one was able to sustainably, whilst, yes, people did beat him, no one was able to really sustainably go toe-to-toe with him for any length of time. I think it'll be really interesting to see what the next 18 months or so holds for Luke Littler in terms of, does he just blow everybody away? Does his level keep increasing? Does he just, does he run away with everything? Or are there players that are going to, I know Luke Humphries has he's beat him in a world final, and Luke Humphries has played at a level at the back end of last year that was just immense. If he can keep that consistent, then we're in for an amazing couple of years. If they can both keep that level, so that we get to keep seeing them playing each other, averaging higher in matches than consistently we'll have ever seen before, because we won't just see it done in a match. We'll see it done match after match after match with these two going at each other, and then with other young players coming through, as well as other players who've been around for a bit longer, who are elevating their game and lifting. Really exciting. There will be people, and I know we get this question a lot, and I've just seen it pop up in the chat room, but Luke Littler this year at least will not be playing for England in the World Cup.
No,
because he simply hasn't had enough time on the tour to even come close in rankings.
No, it's just he just physically can't do
to the rest of them. It will be Luke Humphries and Michael Smith. It will be the World Cup team this year.
Yeah, 100%. And Anthony, I love this. This is Luke's dad, by the way. Still looks like you. Getting really well, Anthony. Really good guy. Yeah, look, your boy's absolutely smashing it. And Will is in. Hope you are good. And the
only problem I have with his age is it consistently reminds me of how much older I am. Like it upsets me how close he is in age to my eldest. My eldest kid is 2 years younger than him, and that's terrifying. Like that's horrifying. I just think, God, it makes me feel really old.
I'm genuinely glad, though, the narrative isn't now, the 16, 17-year-old. It's just a fucking good dart player winning tournaments.
Yeah, well, that's what it should be. And there was always going to be, of course, there was going to be some excitement, and everybody wants to write about it because it's such a fucking good story, isn't it? Like it's amazing.
To start with, 100%. But I'm glad now moving away from it.
I've got some really, really exciting things going on, like across a load of schools at the minute, and it's amazing. Like, because there's loads of kids who are from like disadvantaged backgrounds who are being able to access darts in a safe space, and it's like genuinely amazing. But it doesn't happen. Like, that doesn't happen at all without Luke Littler doing what it doesn't. If somebody else who's not 17 or 16 at the time does that, it doesn't inspire that, and it doesn't bring it through. And I can literally point, because you have a bit of an insight as to what I do and what goes on.
Yeah.
But I can pull groups of kids in Manchester and Bury and Bolton and Barnsley and Newcastle and Blythe and all over the north of England, where they are going and from disadvantaged backgrounds and playing darts in a safe area because they want to go and do what Luke Littler did, and they see Luke Littler on the telly, and it's unbelievably positive.
100%. And Will is in. Hope you are good, mate. I did catch this as well, and look, not everyone will appreciate how big this reference is, but some people will. That was incredible.
Yeah, well, when you think...
That's a reference and a half.
Yeah, it is, because I get... I understand that not everyone is into... not everyone is into wrestling. Some people turn away from it. But even just as a general observer of a sport and the world around you, you can't deny that the WWE is a multi-billion-pound global sporting mammoth or entertainment, sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it. It's
the
a
earnings that are
vast,
on that product is
huge product. Pat
hundreds
McAfee,
of millions.
yeah, exactly. And Pat McAfee himself, like, is an A-list. Like, the guy played. He was he played in Super Bowls as an NFL player. He was a kicker. He then has gone on to be a sports analyst, where he's a huge feature on ESPN. He presents a show on there, and he's involved with the WWE. But the fact that somebody like that in that environment is making references to Luke Littler is amazing. Like, absolutely genuine, and it's huge. And these are the things that, without wanting to, like, I don't think that Luke Littler set out, as a small chap throwing darts, thinking, when I grow up, I'm going to change the world. I'm going to, like, make darts massive. I just think he was really good at darts and wanted to win, and I think that's still the case. But the byproduct of it, and the byproduct of just the general positivity and the view, like, let's be honest, like, there was a view of darts for years where people didn't view it A, as a sport, B, as something that was, worthwhile, valid as, they didn't see it as something that was an important competitive sport between two sportsmen. Like, the people used to think, oh, why the f***'s that on Sky Sports when it's just two pissed up blokes? Like, the narrative is changing so much and so quickly. And it is, yes, there are lots of other people involved. The PDC work very hard. And I also think that having a world champion or some world champions like we've had in recent years who do represent the sport very, very well, as the current one does, is contributory to that. But it can't be understated the effect that Luke's addition to the game and to the tour is having on, the global view of what darts is and what it's going to be in the next 5 to 10 years.
The question is, though, is he going to walk on in that green jacket in Aberdeen? Because he is the proud holder of the green jacket.
See, I thought you were going to, when you were talking about walk-ons in Scotland, I thought you were going to ask whether or not we were going to see him at the Clash of the Castle then. Won't be seeing me there, not at £650 for the cheapest ticket available.
Unfortunately, Luke isn't in the country for Clash of the Castle.
Well, that is devastating because he's one of the few people in the country who can probably afford a ticket.
But I like. Everyone says, "Oh, they've nicked it from the Masters." I like the green jacket idea from the Austrian Darts Open.
Oh, anything for a bit of fun, innit?
Yeah.
Like, I'd have them all. I'd have something funny for each one. Like, have a green jacket and see what you should do. And then this is me being like, there should be a different coloured item of clothing for each Euro tour. And at the end, if you win multiple ones, you end up just in a funny outfit. So, like, for one, you get a yellow hat, and then for another, you get a green jacket, and for another, you get a pair of purple trousers, and then you get a pair of orange clogs for when you're in holiday. And then by the end, if you win multiple, and then it's like who's got the best costume at the end is European champion.
Oh, Bob, that's a good point. We didn't bring this up. What the fuck was that yellow submarine all about?
Oh, I brought it up on Thursday, believe me.
Oh my God.
So I can only assume, like, let's be honest, the t-shirts the shirts come first, doesn't it, in that decision-making process? Because
all the Beatles songs you could have picked.
But it's not in the top 100. It's not in the top 100 Beatles songs. And I can only assume that there's been a conversation that's been, right, we need a Liverpool-based shirt. What about Yellow Submarines? Yeah, like, that'll look brilliant. Let's get the shirt, and the shirt's been made. And then someone said, Peter, why don't we do Yellow Submarine as a walk-on? And I think he's loosely remembered the song and thought, oh yeah, that'll be good, won't it? And he's not remembered how shit it is. And I think he's got halfway down and thought, it's just crap, innit? I've remembered that. Just remembered it's crap. It's their word. There's so many. If you wanted to appease a Liverpool crowd, I think you could have still had Yellow Submarines on your shirt and picked any one of 100 Beatles songs that would make a much better walk-on.
Yeah, 100%.
By all means, still do a Beatles song, but Yeah, not that one would be my advice.
Yeah. But going back to the Euro Tour, we got sidetracked a little bit. A great weekend for Joe Cullen and a much needed one as well. The rock star looked back to his usual self.
He did right up until the final.
Yeah.
He looked absolutely brilliant all weekend. I think there was only one game where he didn't average over 100 and he averaged 99 or something like that. No, 98.7 or something like that. 100 averages all weekend and looked absolutely super. Like, he looked at his best, like back to his proper A game, and then got to the final and chucked an 85. He didn't miss a double in the final. He got 4 legs on the board out of 4 doubles. He was like, couldn't miss, but couldn't score. Just could not score in that last in that final. And if Luke Littler's going to chuck in 103 against you, if you're averaging 85, it doesn't matter how many. You can be 100% on the doubles, but you just won't get them. You won't get to have a go at them.
You're in a world of trouble if you're not at it.
Yeah, and again, like, I don't want to focus too much on that, but it was the final, and it was he dropped sort of his tournament average by 15 points in one game, but really, really positive weekend. Like, the game against Jan van Veen was tremendous. Like, that was an absolute belter of a match. The pair of them, like Jan van Veen, like averaging 103, 44% on his doubles and got battered 6-3. Really, really top stuff from Cullen again, and promising as well, because we haven't seen that from him for some time. We haven't seen him chuck like a really consistent high-level darts and string games together in front of a big crowd, which is what he, for about 18 months, he made that his stamp. Like, for 18 months, he was going to turn up in front of a big crowd and he was going to push you all the way because he was going to average 101. And he was going to hit some big checkouts and he was going to be clinical on the doubles. And we've not seen him put that together too much in the last 6 months. So very, very positive for him.
Yeah, off the back of the Euro Tour as well, and we touched on it in the Premier League chat, we're seeing more and more players already managing their schedules. Nathan's missed the last 2 Euro Tours. Michael Smith, obviously, here. Owen Price and Luke Humphreys missed the Euro Tour. Luke, in his interview, said he's going to miss the Euro Tour after the Premier League final, I think. So already we're seeing more and more players manage what is a busy schedule.
Yeah, but I think I've got no. So first of all, on a number of fronts, I have no problem with that at all.
I agree.
I have no problem. I think if you are, first of all, if you're able to do it, then financially you've earned the right. If you're able to think, I don't need that money, I don't need to go and play there. I'd rather spend the time with my kids. Good on you. Like, good luck to you, and you've earned the right to do so. Secondly, I think it creates opportunities for people further down the rankings, which I'm all for. And we've seen some stuff like Daniel Closer this weekend is closer to retaining his tour card because of that dropout from Kessie Price. It does create opportunities. Providing that the PDC, and I know they are like, rational in who they select and who they give that opportunity to, and have some fairness to it, then fine. And then thirdly, I think if you look at other sports that operate a sort of pro tour format, golf, tennis, like the idea of a player in the top 16 managing their schedule, the idea of a top 16 player in tennis playing all of their tour events is unheard of, is bonkers.
Yeah.
There's too much. Like, you need some time off. You need to, and if you're in the top 16, you can. And yes, you have to be strategic in that. You have to think, well, what can I drop and what value can I not go and play? Because if I then drop to 9th instead of 8th, I won't get seeded for this, or I'll be on the other side of the draw for this major tournament that's coming up. And they're trying to work themselves and play themselves into form. But if you look at, golf, if you look at tennis, the other major sports that operate a tour card format, it is absolutely completely normal for elite players to manage their schedules and to not play everything. And I think that the more that darts becomes professionalized lower down the rankings, and those are in that the upper echelons aren't financially constrained, that to having to go and play everything, then I think the trend will continue, and it will become more like a tennis and a golf in terms of how that pro tour works.
Yeah. No, Gazzy, he had a tight twinge in his back. He'll be fine for Aberdeen this week. Also, off the back of the Euro Tour, there was the race for the match play is now looking interesting because 5 defeats in a row. Dirk van Dijvenbode at the moment is not going to Blackpool. He has now dropped to 17th on the main order of merit, and he is 325 off of. Look, there's still time, but at the moment, Gilding is not going. I'm sorry, Van Dijvenbode is not going. And then I look at Wade and Gilding on the other side. They're in a world of trouble right now because they can't win a game.
No, and there's some big names there, who currently aren't. If you think of that Premier League run and that 3-4 years ago, sort of COVID era run from Jose de Sousa. Like, Jose de Sousa's nowhere near the match player. Neither's Gabe Clemens. Gabe Clemens might get through on the order of merit, to be honest. But yeah, Dirk's not in there. It's tight. But the question, I suppose, is those bottom spots with Gilding and James Wade, it's whether or not you back them to pick up more points or more ranking points than those underneath them. Cullen Ridge is a mile out of form. Gabe Clemens is a mile out of form. Kevin Dukes is a mile out of form. Then Van Dijvenbode, then De Decker. By the time you get to Cam Menzies, you're $7,000 needed.
Yeah.
They might get away with it based on the fact that the players underneath them aren't playing particularly well, and those that are in a bit of form aren't close enough to them. In order to catch them, he might just get away with it. James Wade, be close though,
but he's just not winning. He just doesn't look like winning games either at the moment. That's the issue, and it only takes one good run or something, and then he's in a world of trouble.
Yeah, there's a spot, and I mentioned him in an article because he's the only person so far that's done 4 European Tour qualification events on the spin to come through him. But Richie Edhouse in 13th on that qualifier for the match play.
Absolutely flying.
And Richie Edhouse is going to the match play because he's qualified for the next 2 Euro Tour events as well. So he's playing, or certainly the next one. So he's got another Euro Tour to put onto that. He's playing some gorgeous darts this year, Richie Edhouse. Really, really playing very, very well. And for me, he's a complete banker to be in Blackpool.
Yeah, this is where the race for the match play starts to hot up. And we know God goes super cautious, but on that players' championship list, who's safe for you?
Pro Tour Order of Merit list.
Yeah. Seeds, who's safe?
Richie Edhouse.
So you're going only 3 spots up for grabs?
Yeah, Richie Edhouse isn't. Oh well, so here's my rider. Richie Edhouse is in, but Brendan Dolan isn't safe. Only because I know Richie Edhouse has got that Euro Tour to click on, and I think he's in better form than Dolan. And I just think I have more confidence that at this moment, Richie Edhouse will definitely be there. Brendan Dolan hasn't quite got the momentum and might still be under threat. But I think there's mainly 3 at risk because I can't see more than 3 players coming from underneath and picking up the money and picking up the money they'd need. Luke Wood. So if you go 3 down to Kevin Dukes, you got 3, 4, 5. Kevin Dukes would have to have 4.5 grand to get to Luke Woodhouse. Dirk van Duijnbode needs 5.5 grand. There's not low. I mean, there is if someone goes and wins something. I just don't know if any of these have got it in them at the minute. And that's if Woodhouse picks up nothing.
Yeah.
It's 4.5 grand if Woodhouse doesn't pick up anything. But you've got to make 4.5 grand more than Luke Woodhouse makes. That's not what you have to win. You have to win that more than what Luke Woodhouse wins.
Yeah, it's interesting. I definitely think Wade and Gilder are in a world of trouble just because they're not getting results either. Is the thing. And I look at it, for me, James doesn't score heavy enough to trouble the big hitters anymore.
No. And he doesn't check out as consistently as he did to make up for it.
Yeah.
Like he used to be able to bail himself out a lot, but he just hasn't been able to, has he?
No, not at all. So we've seen it in there. We weren't ignoring it, just finding a break in there. Does Littler at 14th, 15th have enough chance of... Luke can pick and choose his Euro Tour now. He's going to the European Championships. He's at the match plays, at the World Grand Prix, he's at everything. So yes, Luke can pick and choose his events. Absolutely. Barney will be at Blackpool. But Barney will be going to Blackpool. I don't see others earning 10 grand more than him. Is again what you said earlier. Willie O'Connor. No, Willie O'Connor's not even close.
Nowhere near.
No,
he's not even halfway there. I don't think. And I'm off it, but he might be halfway there, but he won't be much more.
No.
23. Gilding's in the 16th spot on 250 quid shy of 41. So I don't think unless he wins a couple of Pro Tour events. Even then he's pushing it.
Wade against Rock came back a few months. Yeah, that's a one-off. That's
one game in it.
That's a one-off performance. He's not doing it regularly enough against the big hitters. Is the problem. And one game here and there does not get you enough ranking money to get anywhere near it. Is the thing. But look, it's not a problem at all, mate. Not a problem at all. So yeah, look, the match play draw is hotting up, and it's good. We spoke about it in we knew it was coming. The statement from England Darts around the transgender thing was, forget whether you agree, whether you don't. We've been into all that, but that's one of the worst worded statements I think I've ever seen in my life.
Fuck me. I'm glad that I had to get somebody to read it to make sure. You know, sometimes you read something. Like I have me. Yeah, I have a proper grown-ups job during the day, and I have to read a lot of documents, and I have to make some decisions. But sometimes you think I might have just a bit burnt out. And I know I'd had a really stressful week, and then also, I had about 3 goes to read this, and I was thinking, it makes fucking no sense because essentially what it was an announcement to say that they had made a decision. And this is the reason, and we're really pleased that we've made the decision, and we hope you agree with the decision, but it didn't tell you what the decision was. At no point in the statement itself did it say, we've made a decision that this or that. It literally said, it was 4 paragraphs to say we've made a decision. At no point did they tell us what the fuck it was.
Yeah, hilarious. just the fact that you didn't know what look, we all know what they were getting at, and whether people agree with it or whatever is irrelevant. But who in the hierarchy said, yeah, that's a good statement to put out?
Like, honest, I literally, out of the goodness of my heart, I remain available to proofread things. Like, please just give me a nudge on Twitter or something, and I'll proofread it for you, and I'll just do it out of the goodness of my heart, because it saddens me to see things like that going on. It's just, it was badly, awfully written.
So whether you agree with it or whatever is irrelevant, but as an organisation, at least get your shit in order when you're putting out a statement.
Yes, yeah. And they're the things that irritate me often. It's not like a really important political issue. It's like the fucking improper use of an apostrophe or something. That's the things that are really going to get my back up. Just be slightly better with you. Like because the thing is, and again, like when you do something like that and you make a decision like that, it's going to be shared. People are going to talk about it, and it's going to get traction, positive and negative. There will be people that say this is the best decision they could have made. There'll be other people going, you fucking bigots. Like you'll get people coming from all angles on it. Just make sure that when they come for you, which they will, from both sides, like you have your house in order and look as good as you can. Like if you're going to take a professional stance on a subject and you're going to make the decision to hold the line and say, like, this is what we think and this is the decision we've made. Look professional doing it. Don't do it looking a Burke, because you undermine your own point. You make yourself look foolish. And then what you've decided loses credibility among some, or among people that can read, because they can't take you seriously, but you want to make a serious point. Like that's the challenge, is that it detracts from a serious point that people have decided to make, and then everyone pisses themselves laughing at it. Not because of the point, but because it's fucking gibberish.
100%. It was just like, what is this? Yeah, absolutely. It was one of the funniest things I've seen this week. My
assumption, so I genuinely had a working theory, and I tried it out, was that someone had written it in a different language and put it through Google Translate. Like, it had all the hallmarks of something written in Dutch and translated into English on Google Translate, and someone had just translated it and clicked post. It had all the I tried that. It wasn't. I did try and unpick it. It was just nonsense.
Yeah, it was just. It was funny. What else have we missed in a week of? We'll play the clip and then we'll discuss. Because this was another one that got people talking.
It wasn't necessarily the abuse, to be honest. It was just, I don't know. I think the stupid thing on a Monday when you get like your screen time and the report and stuff, and I thought, what am I doing here? I'm spending like almost a quarter of my day just scrolling through, nonsense, really. So it wasn't so much the abuse thing. I just thought, I was on my phone a lot and far too much. So, and it was good. I enjoyed it. I didn't miss anything. The only thing that I did miss, if I'm honest, is like the like football things. If anything happens in football, obviously being a United fan, things come through on Instagram and Twitter and stuff like that. So apart from that, I enjoyed the break, and I think I'll do it again in the future, just to do it, to be honest. The Hildesheim pro, I don't see the point in it, to be honest.
That's fair. You're not the only person.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm not. I get it. I think if you look at the calendar with the Euro Tours and Pro Tours alone, we're overseas more than we are in the UK.
Yeah.
So with the PDC being a UK business, I don't see the point. I get it with the European Tour because the ticket sales and things like that, but you can't buy a ticket to go watch a Pro Tour in Hildesheim. So I think, is it 6 this year, all right?
Yeah.
6 or 8. I think 6 or 8. I think they're both too much. I think 2, weekends or weekdays now, maximum. I think that would suffice. It's all right saying, well, half the tour are from overseas. They knew what they were signing up to when they came to the PDC. So, we're over there an awful lot. So I think personally that the majority of them should be in the UK.
Well, I'll tell you what. he's plummeted down in my estimation. I always thought he was a good lad, Joe, and after that remark, I've had it with him because I never knew he was a United fan.
This is one of the ones I get his point in what he's saying, that when you work out the days they spend in Europe and the UK, I get what he's trying to say.
My view on it is as follows. So I sort of get a little bit his point where you know what the tour card holders from Europe and the players from Europe know what they're coming to when they come to the PDC. Like, they know that the majority of those Pro Tour events are going to be played in England. I sort of also think, though, it's not a hideously, like, it's not weighted so badly that it should have a real negative effect. And, like, if you don't want to go, you don't have to go. Like we spoke earlier on about people managing their schedules and choosing what they want to play in and what they don't want to play in. It isn't a UK tour. It's a tour that is a professional darts tour, and that takes place all over the place. I think some of it is like you have to find some way of appeasing the amount of players that are from Europe that spend a lot of time traveling, and like you're never going to get the balance right, because if you drop them and you put them more in the UK, then you are just going to piss off everyone from Europe, and you're not going to get you may get people that won't commit. I think it's a tough one, isn't it? Everyone's going to have a view on it, and it's.
I think
it's hard to me, isn't it? It's just personal view.
Not them being in Germany or wherever in Europe. It's where they're logistically based, some of these ones. If you're going to have them in continental Europe, they should be easily accessible.
Yeah, I fully agree with that.
Where some of them, take Resup, for instance, is a fucking ball ache.
I fully agree with that. Like, you should be within 30 minutes of an international airport, shouldn't you? You shouldn't be travelling more than 30. Like, let's be honest, Europe, certainly continental Europe, is not a big place. Like, you can get in the car and you can drive, like, from Italy, and you can, in an afternoon, you can drive through France into Switzerland, into Austria in a couple of hours. Like, it's pretty tight, Europe. There's no real excuse to not have to, to have to get 3 trains and then a flight, and then you can only get a flight out of London on the day that you are traveling. Like, you need to pick venues that are within 45 minutes of an international airport that's flown to by most major airlines. Like, it's common sense, really.
Well, I just look at this weekend, and I get he didn't have to play, but Luke, as in Littler, had to get a 6 a.m. flight from Manchester, having only finished his media about 12 o'clock that night. So 4 hours kip, if that. And then he had to get a flight from Manchester to Frankfurt to Graz. And it's the same with research. It's either 2 flights or 3.5 hours on the train and stuff like this. That I personally have got no issue with stuff being in continental Europe, but they have to be more accessible.
No, I fully agree with that point. I just think it's realistic and reasonable.
Yeah, 100%.
Because they are inherently accessible to people who live in continental Europe. Because it's like saying, do we have one in Barnsley, or do we have one in Sheffield, or do we have one in Milton Keynes? Like, if you might fall lucky in that you live in the north and that one's in the north, or you might live in Devon and you've got to drive for a few hours. Like, it's incidental, but you are just getting in the car and getting to a place.
But even if you look at where the Pro Tours are in the UK, right? Milton Keynes and Leicester, Stansted, Birmingham, East Midlands Airport.
Oh yeah, that's it. You can get in and out of them. Yeah,
all relative. Barnsley and Wigan, Manchester Airport.
they're all on the M1 or A1. Like they're all on a main motorway, and they're all on the main train lines. So regardless of how you get around, if you want to fly, drive, get the train, land your helicopter, you'll be. Luke Shuley's only a year or two away, earnings-wise, from being able to just helicopter to events.
I'm going to publish this comment. Warren, it's controversial, but I am with you.
What? Grow. As the person who travels probably further than any bastard else that isn't Scottish to get there. No, street. Actually, I'll tell you what. The problem I have with the potential loss of Minehead, believe you me, it is not the 9-hour drive and like having to stay at Cam's house as a pit stop and not like for me to travel down there. Is first and foremost, if you lose Minehead, you lose the cowshed because surely we don't do the Premier League in Exeter.
Oh no, the only reason Exeter exists on the Premier League calendar is because it is the only place.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So you're not. So if you remove Minehead, you take that joy from me. You're also taking the cowshed as well. So you've come at me twice then.
Double whammy.
Now I would only accept it, and I would accept it, is if you could replicate everything about Minehead in Skegness. I would say perfect.
No, Butlins at Bognor.
Yeah, I do. But yeah, see, that's I would accept it being run in the same format at any other Butlins. Like, in fact, I'd happily have them rotate it on an annual basis because I get to travel around them all. So I'd happily go, like, we could do a year at Skegness and then a year at Minehead and a year at Bognor and wherever else they've got one around the country somewhere. I mean, next to a nuclear power station, they normally are. Clean air. But no, it's just too good. Like, it's too good. It's the best event to attend, like over the course of a couple of days as a darts fan. Like, the match play is amazing, but that's just because of that room and the atmosphere and like that. The match player is brilliant. But generally, if you go to the match play, normal sort of darts fan like me, you are just going to the match play, like, watch some darts, watch a session or whatever you managed to get tickets for. You've got a session of darts, get on the piss, and then you're away. Minehead is like an experience. It's a holiday. Like, you go with your mates, you're eating breakfast, you're cooking in your apartment. You are like, it's just class. It's the experience. If you don't enjoy Minehead, you haven't done it right. You need to get better friends and get a better plan. I will consult with you on how to do Minehead properly. You maybe didn't find the all-you-can-eat Papa John's buffet. That's impressive.
Yeah, interesting. Should we open up the chat room for questions, and then we'll do? It is Euro Tour this weekend, and someone said, should tour card holders be allowed to play? No, we've said this a long time. That no, for me.
What's that? Missed it. Sorry.
The Dev Tour is in Hildesheim this weekend, and the old debate of should tour card holders be in it? No.
No. Of course not.
No. But let's open up question time then, everyone. Get your questions in. I've actually really enjoyed the relaxed Tonight Show. We've just chatted darts. It's been great.
Stick the UK Open in Vegas.
I'm down for that.
I mean, that's all very well saying that out loud, but can you imagine me trying to address that one with Mrs. Simpson?
Have you addressed Mrs. Simpson with your travel plans for 2025 yet?
She might be watching. She texted me earlier and that made me think she was watching. Now I can't remember if I. I think. My voice went there as well.
He's got nervous, isn't he?
No, I think. So I did, and I'm not worried about it. The problem might be is I could inadvertently drop some of my friends and colleagues in it. I'll be fine. I'll be right. Don't you worry about me. I'll be there. I'll be there with bells on, with a Ladbrokes hat and a little flag, and finding the one bar that does Blue Moon with a fresh orange in it. Yeah, I'll be there with bells on, as will a few others.
This goes back to the point we were making earlier. This is a really good insight. Luke didn't go to sleep Thursday night. Yeah. And this is what I mean about having to be accessible.
To be fair, I could do that when I was his age. That's where he's got the advantage over everybody else. That's why he's playing so well.
As a professional sportsman, you shouldn't be having to go through that.
No, of course you shouldn't, and of course you shouldn't. And in any other sport, it would be like laughable. But again, I do say like because of, and I'm making assumptions here, but because of Luke, he's had a tour card for 4 months, and he's wanted to get qualified for certain events. He's wanted to get to the Matchplay as well. He hasn't really had much of an opportunity to manage his schedule because he's had to get to certain points at certain times. He's got some very clear milestones that he didn't have the 18 months or however long everybody else has had to build up, or 12 months to qualify for a tournament. So I do think that like he hasn't had a great deal of opportunity to dip some of them where you could have thought, no, I'm not, like that's a bit much this week. Next year it'd be interesting to see if he makes the decision, which I assume a sane person would, to dip a few of them where the logistics are a complete nightmare. Which is why, like I say, in other sports that have a pro tour, it's very, very normal for top 16 players to not play everything. They make their big money at the majors. That's where they make all their ranking money. They don't need to go and pick up 200 quid here and 400 pound here because it doesn't have any knock-on effect in the rankings that where they sit. Obviously, Luke's a bit different because he's another 30 bags up from yesterday, and that's the second time he's gone to Europe and done that this year. So there's 60 grand into his rankings from going and doing the hard miles, so to speak, and traveling after the Premier League. Obviously, it's paid off for him. He's qualified for. He's qualifying for. He's going to be in everything. So he's there for the lot. But yeah, it is an unenviable schedule. But it is the part that you think, well, when you've got the Premier League is only a finite amount of weeks in the year. The Premier League doesn't run all year. And you only have a set number of Euro tours in the year as well. Why the hell are we doing Euro tours like the day after Premier League events? Because we've got the rest of the bloody year when we could slot them in. And at the same time, why aren't the Euro tours that are after the Premier League the ones that are in the more accessible places where somebody can pick up a flight and get somebody there? Sensibly. Yeah.
Right. So, Jamie, I don't know if Beau's playing on the Dev Tour this weekend. What's the worst venue in the PDC, and why is it always as in the always Hildesheim? I'm guessing PDC Europe have got a really good deal with the complex at Hildesheim, the same as they have Wigan, Barnsley, Milton Keynes, and Leicester.
Yes, for us, it's different. I can't really have much of a view on the worst venue for a pro tour because
we don't really go to pro tours, so it's
behind closed doors.
Cheers, boss. Thank you very much. Do this one. Thoughts on the topic discussion back in January regarding the Masters? So for me, I would keep the Masters, but completely rebrand it. They won't do this, by the way, but I would like to see it branded into the top 32 and made into the old Win-Mal World Masters format. Set play, best of 3 in a set.
Ooh, yeah.
For me,
yeah, I like that.
That's the Masters. As soon as you say the Masters, that's instantly what I think of.
Yeah, I very much like and enjoy that as a concept. I find it very difficult to present a challenging opinion. Sometimes just to promote conversation, I'd like to be the contrarian and just say the opposite of. But I can't really disagree at all. I think they're fine, good idea. I haven't got anything to really add on that.
Next Champions Week is the last week in May. Can't wait. Yeah, Austria was really good. Graz Airport was 5 minutes away from the hotel. The issue was just getting to Graz was the issue from the UK.
That's the problem, is that Graz isn't, if you want to do something in Austria, then, do it in Vienna. Do it in a place that's got 50 flights a day going into it from Great Britain, from every different city. Like Graz, lovely place, but it's not a major hub of air travel. If the venue's close to it, great and sensible. But I'm sure that there are more commercially feasible airports to get to, commercial airports that you can get to easier from the UK. What you need ideally is to be able to get on a flight at Manchester, but also get on a flight in Glasgow and also get in a flight in London and all get to that airport on this. And I don't think we've got a flight that comes out of Newcastle that goes to Graz. So you would probably have to do something else. And the other thing as well is I think it's a fair point. There are certain. So if you take for example, and it's only because I know it's a major city with 2 airports, and it's an easy example to give. So Rome, for example, has got 2 airports. And I used to travel to Rome a lot. And we used to say it's the posh one and the shit one. And because you had one airport, Leonardo da Vinci, where all of the premium airlines would fly in and out of. So Emirates and Qantas would be in and out of there, and British Airways, they'd all fly to there. And then Ciampino Airport, that was 40 minutes outside, where you could get an EasyJet flight and a Ryanair flight. And you could book a 40 quid flight with Ryanair and you could get to Ciampino Airport. But I also think there needs to be some looking at, if we're booking places close to an airport, is that the airport that people can get? Because it's important to remember that a lot of these darts players are funding their own travel. They're booking planes, trains and automobiles to get to where they are going and having to fund it. And, you can have a player qualify for an event. I just saw that comment there. So I
love this.
Threw me off completely.
Oh, that's genius. Right. I'm not sure it will be for the foreseeable.
Yeah, I think sadly that you shouldn't get your hopes up for that. And
the last one. Does Peter Wright get picked for the not unless he wins a big tournament, i.e. the match play of the World Championship for me?
Oh yeah, I think, and but purely because, how in recent years that there's always going to be, there will never be a year where there isn't not controversy but contentious picks in the Premier League, because so much of it is subjective. So much of it is factors that aren't just form and ranking. And when Matt Porter will have to keep coming out and reminding everybody every year, although he doesn't use these words, it's essentially a glorified exhibition, and we pick who we want to pick because we have to fill stadiums with players, or we have to fill stadiums with fans, and we have to pick the players that can do that. But And genuinely, they've always had a reasonable comeback. You know, when someone doesn't get in, there's because of this and because of that, and how do you? You know, we talked earlier about the players that you potentially have to deny a spot. You know, a Dimitri Vandenberg or a Stephen Bunting, and how do you point at Peter Wright and say, "Oh no, he deserves to be there more than they do"? Like you can't.
No, 100%.
You can't do that with a straight face, can you?
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone, thank you very, very much for your continued support. Love tonight's live land. Myself and Dan keeping you company for the last couple of hours. This will be available as an audio only, as always. Dan, been a pleasure, mate. Good to have you back. Glad Mrs. Simpson is on the mend.
Yeah, I'll have my big badge on next week because next Monday is my birthday.
Oh, hello.
So I will have me. I'll have my new birthday togs on. I'll have my new gear on, and I might even have a little party out or something on.
Beautiful. Everyone, thank you very much. One last time, if you haven't, make sure you drop us a like and subscribe. Massively appreciate it. But I've been Phil Bars, Dan Simpson, keeping you company for the last couple of hours. We have been on 9 Darts, and we'll see you all very, very soon.